Hlenne Guillame Pabis is a data scientist and an athlete here to talk to us about why we need WildAI, the groundbreaking women's performance AI. So take it away. Is that a clicker? You can have it through the mouse, or you can just say slide and they will do it for you. Either click. Should be popping. Yep, there we go. It's not. Normally it's just auto. You guys have the slides up there. We can make it happen. Don't worry. I'm just going to take it out of your break. Tactically dehydrate. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Don't do that. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Bueno. No. There. Andrew, on. This update hits you. It's a government facility, folks. This is how this works.
I'll show this.
I will start anyways. So, hi, I'm Hlenne Guillame. I am the founder and CEO of WildAI. I am extremely excited of being here today. I am a data scientist by training and an athlete. And data science is exciting when there's a lot of data. And in physiology and female physiology in particular, there's three worlds with a lot of data. The medical world, where we have hospitals, sick people, we have a lot of data, sports, which is my background, and the military. So I'm very excited to be here today because it's a huge field with more means than some other areas. So yeah, thank you very much for having me. I will see if it works. Yes. So breaking news: women are not men. When I created that slide a few years ago, I was then turning back the question to the audience, to a lot of men, and I was saying, they were laughing, and I was saying like, okay, but tell me how are we different? And then it's like, besides the obvious that we have breasts and things like that, it was like a little bit difficult for them to explain. Today, 80% of the medical research is still done on males. If you go in wet labs, you'll see it's mostly male mice. And when it comes to sports, physical performance, only 6% of budgets go to women. So we really are under-researched. And so some of the things that are interesting, and the reason why it's really interesting is if we understand better the female body, we can give better recommendations to women. And I will delve into that very thoroughly now, but a little bit of background. So one thing that really upset me growing up is all the words that we were using for women. So women are moody and bitchy and complicated, and we've been mocked. And basically this is what is widely accepted when we talk about women and women's physiology and hormones. We're hormonal, and I really struggled accepting that as the only answer to my body and to, I don't understand when I was doing a lot of sports, I don't understand why one day I would perform really well, the other day I would be out of breath, but there's no reply to that. And what I was told is, it's just complicated. And all the things, a big issue as well is when we go back to the real meaning, the why of that, going back to the origin of a lot of our societies, Western societies, when you go back to religions, women are really put aside. So if we go in Christian religion, there are two women. One is a virgin, she doesn't have any desires, she doesn't have any sexuality at all, and the other one is a prostitute. So really, the only thing that we can think about a woman when we grow up in these societies is a woman that has to hide herself. And this is all the female fluids that we can never talk about. So blood is taboo, all our sweat is taboo, the milk. Do you know how many milk ducts a breast has? Not the women who have given breast milk to a child, but I didn't know before having a child, but basically it's between 1 to 15 milk ducts. So this is one of the most incredible liquids that we have, and it's completely ignored. We have no idea how it works, how it functions, so it's all very taboo. So I was growing up, so I was doing sports. I was a semi-pro rugby player, a competitive triathlete, ultramarathon runner. So a lot of sports, but growing up, being a woman in sports and probably similar in the military, it was pretty grim. It was really shitty to be a woman. And I was never told growing up that I had this incredibly powerful body. And then I got pregnant, and I was like, oh my God, I am God. Like, so I take bread, I metabolize it, and I turn it into skin. And I take wine, and then I turn it into blood. And I was like, wow, I'm pregnant again. And I'm just mind blown by the female body, but this is not what we've been told growing up. When we are in the courtyard with the little boys, like the worst insult you can give to a boy is, you girly. So what we are taught growing up for boys is like, you do not go close to that because this is really ridiculous. And what we are told as girls is, anything that you feel, you shouldn't feel it because it's in your mind and it's not valid. And we are devalidated. And this thing, I was the other day at my couple therapist, and I'm pregnant, and so I was going through a lot of emotions, and she was like, you are pregnant, and I was like, no. And I asked myself, why am I triggered? And the reason is that it devalidates everything I feel. When we are told, like, it's your hormones, it devalidates the fact that I actually have real things happening in myself. This is me pregnant at 9 months, surfing. So the female body is incredible. Like, we are not taught, like, well, I was asking my doctor, can I serve? And he was like, no. And I was like, what is the medical research behind? He was like, there isn't. We actually don't know. We have no idea. And so I was like, okay, I'll try it out. And it works. So now a little bit back on the actual science. So what we've done at WildAI, which is my company, we've done extensive research on how does the female physiology functions, what does it need and when, and how can we give that from research into the hands of women. So this is the big life stages that we will go through as women. First menarche, the first periods, then a menstrual cycle for 40 years. We would have around 500 menstrual cycles back to back. To give you an idea, that's around 7 years of bleeding back to back. And irregular cycles, amenorrhea, when we lose our periods, birth controls, they are all different. Prepartum, how do I prepare my body, pregnancy, postpartum, miscarriages, the cycles before, egg freezing, IVF, how does it impact my body? Again, if we think about a man, if we are thinking how much hormones impact a man, if you think about a man taking testosterone, you can see how much it impacts his body. If you're thinking now about the normal hormonal fluctuations of a woman, it impacts her body heavily. If she takes an artificial contraceptive, it also impacts her body heavily. If she's doing an IVF process as well. But we are not taught what is going to happen. So we are basically operating in the dark. And then entering this big new life stage, which is the perimenopausal, and then menopause and postmenopause. So perimenopause, very often we don't even know what is the word, we never heard about it, is this 1 to 10 year period where the body starts having a lot of fluctuations. And then we have 12 months of no bleeding, this is menopause, and then postmenopause. And then a lot of conditions that women have, like endometriosis, PCOS, IBS, 10% of women have it. Again, very often I go to a doctor, I say, I have these pains, and they're like, it's menstrual pains. And it's not, it's actual proper medical conditions that are under-researched. Now going into the menstrual cycle. So menstrual cycle is, again, in terms of vocabulary, very often when we say menstrual cycle, a lot of people think it's only the period. The period, the bleeding, is the first part of the menstrual cycle, and then for a certain amount of time, the myth is that it's 28 days. The actual medically researched average is 27 days, but 28 days is like probably a number that from 200 years ago, very badly researched. So from the periods, then we go up to ovulation. Ovulation is a time where we have a fertile period, we can get pregnant, and then we wind down and go to the luteal phase. And actually our underlying metrics vary all the time, which is really interesting when we try to understand what leads after that, which is performance, and what are the needs of the body. So our resting heart rate changes, our eagerness to train, or emotional states, or sex drive, and all these things change all the time. But the good thing is, it's not complicated and completely all over the place. It basically follows very well fine-tuned time series patterns. like women are extremely well operated bodies. I like to say that men are like tractors. They're over time, they function all the time the same way. As women, we function like Ferraris. Like we perform extremely well and then we go back to the stables and we have to rest. Or like athletes, like we perform extremely high and then we rest. But when you understand that, it actually can be an advantage. It is like, as on a daily basis, we all have a daily cycle. I wake up in the morning, I'm pumped. In the evening, I'm tired, I go to bed, I sleep. If I am not following that, if I am a night shifter, if I'm a doctor, if I'm deployed, I'm in the military, and I, over time, always counter my cycle, I will get sick, diseases are higher, and people die younger. This is similar to the female menstrual cycle. It is naturally ingrained in our bodies. If we understand it, we can take advantage of it. If we don't understand it, we go counter-cycle, and we have premenstrual symptoms, a lot of pains, and we just don't take advantage of it. Now there's more research, so you might have read some of this research. ACL injuries correlated with ovulation. Our body opens up every single month, similar to when we get pregnant, joint laxity open up. It doesn't mean we cannot train when we are ovulating. It means we need to prepare the body as if we were not having the support of the ACLs. So it is a different type of training for women. So what we've done at WildAI, we've done 4 years of research, led to an app. Now we have also a coach dashboard. And now we're opening that research science through an API, a third-party integration for other technologies to turn all male technology into male plus female into technology. So how does it work? So we take data on a daily basis from wearables and manual check-ins. These two together gives us a female readiness score, this number, and then based on that score, this is all the wearables we integrate with, and some we will integrate with. And then based on that score, we provide these recommendations that are for the women every single day in terms of training, nutrition supplements, and recovery. Training sessions. And then at the end of this tracking, what we have at the end of every menstrual cycle is we have these reports in terms of readiness score. So these bars, vertical bars that you see is a menstrual cycle readiness score average, and then this is actually combined 6 menstrual cycles, and you can see that the average in the early follicular phase goes up, then up to ovulation, and then goes down. And this is basically a very traditional bell curve of the female readiness score throughout the menstrual cycle. It's really interesting because this is actually the first time ever this is portrayed like that. If you have wearables, you will have a monthly report, but it doesn't represent well how women are going through, like what is interesting for women. So the reason why it's really interesting as well is this is what a lot of research says, but actually what we've observed through our own data set is that some women have the opposite curve. They dip at ovulation. And so we try to understand why is that, and it's because some women have a very strong reaction to the shift of hormones, and they have ovulation pain, and so it also means that when we are going into a world where we have more and more data sets, in a world where AI is like became a very cool word, there is no reason why we cannot have a personalized approach to female health. And what is extremely exciting being a data scientist is that we are very different, but instead of using words like it's complicated and hence let's just ignore it, it's like it's a huge world that is untapped. And for people in research, universities, it's such a huge green space that we are at the beginning of discovering. The other life stage, so we cover women who menstruate, birth control, a little bit of education. There's 3 types of birth control combined. So it's progestin and estrogen, progestin only and non-hormonal. And so we list then all the brands that we have. So we have 148 brands. And the way it works, typically speaking, it either stops or not the ovulation. It thickens the mucus, so the sperm cannot go through, and it thins the lining. So if there is an implementation, if there isn't a fertilization, there's no implementation. This is typically traditionally how the birth controls work. But it's really important, again, to understand how, if we do take a birth control, how do they impact our body? Because they impact our body differently with or not hormones, and hence, this is how it impacts our body differently. and we can learn about it differently. So we have an active and an inactive phase of the birth control, and that impacts the needs of the female body. We also cover perimenopause and menopause. So some stats. It's really like one of the new fields, I would say, or maybe it's just fashion. But we now, like in a lot of corporates, there is this new approach of we want to retain the women who have made it up to their 40s. 40s is really, really young. So we start having perimenopausal symptoms in our 40s. And we can prepare for the body in our 30s. We should actually. A little bit of science behind as well. So what happens? So up to like our late 20s, our bone density builds up. Then we hit a peak, and then it starts going down slowly. And then when we hit menopause, meaning 12 months of no bleeding, it starts to go down really quickly. We all heard our mother or grandmother falling in the bathtub and breaking her hips. This is because our bone density goes down. This can be prevented by weightlifting and preparing well the body. So it's really important for us as women to understand well, how can I age really well and efficiently? And then we have a lot of other symptoms. So our weight starts not behaving the same way. Body fats align differently in our bodies when we start hitting perimenopause. Muscles become very different, so it's very important to take things like protein intake, and our cardiovascular disease risks increase as well with age. So looking at all of that, our profiles are very different than men, so we need to look at it differently, because then we can have healthy, strong women throughout not only the 40s but the 50s, so we can retain people who have been years working and who are extremely valuable for the industry. So that was the app. Now we have also the supervisor dashboard. So a supervisor can see where all the women are. So they can see like all the women who are early follicular ovulation, birth controls, etc. And recommendations, what does it mean? So they can really start working hand in hand with the women they work. So we really educate the people who work with women to understand how the female physiology function, how to talk to them, and how to provide them the best recommendations. And then this is on the granular level, what are all the data sets of the women today, and what are the predictions in the future, so they can prepare well either the training or like the deployments of the different people. We also have a coach academy, so created with Dr. Stacey Sims, which a few of you might have heard of. So she's the world leader in female physiology and sports research. And so we've done a lot of combined work to be able to provide really interesting information to people who work with women as well. So we work with Olympians, women in the military, and active women as well, which is quite exciting because we can see, like when we talk to women, it resonates with them very often. They're like, yes, it does make sense. Like what we're saying is, although it is new, broad science to them, it's very intuitive. And so we speak in different places, now here as well, so very excited. And in the press, so we are a small company, but the reason that we are known and is because it is quite groundbreaking, not only the research, but also the way we speak about women. Oh, I'll go back. So for us, what is really important is not only that we have a technology that is brought to women, but also the way we perceive women. So the way we perceive ourselves as women, and the way men perceive women. And on the previous talks, it was really interesting to see, because we cannot work alone. Like we really need to work all together, and female health is health, and it does benefit the whole of society. So we need to work together. But one of my real objectives and dreams is that we get to a world where when we see a pregnant woman, we're like, wow, she's creating humanity. She's creating the whole of humanity. It's not like she has a menstrual cycle, is annoying, she's pregnant, is annoying, she's in menopause, is annoying. It's like we need to embrace like the really strong power of women, which we haven't yet. So some of the ways I would love to discuss further with you is the app, the dashboard, but also research. We do research partnership with universities. How can we, us as a platform, help more researchers, but also what can we do to bring that to more women? So we do partner with some universities, and this is some of the research. I don't know if the slides are going to be shared after, but basically some of the things that we are very interested in is, for instance, impact of concussion on the female body. How does the female body recover? Is when she had a concussion where she was in her menstrual cycle, does it impact the speed of recovery? Can she be treated differently? So all of that is new research, like never really been analyzed before. Or heart rate variability is a metric that a lot of wearables are using to determine readiness score. So resting heart rate is the beats when you are sleeping. Heart rate variability is the differential between I'm very rested, I meditate, my heartbeats are very slow, and then I have to run. So I need my heart has to pump really, really strongly. What is the differential between these two? So heart rate variability, the higher it is, the better it is. Resting heart rate, the lower it is, the better it is. And so HRV is used by Whoop, Aura, Apple Watch, you name it, as an indicator of readiness. But it's been analyzed. This is not yet scientifically researched, so don't use that as quoted, but it has now, like in our company and also together with Dr. Sims, it is not a very good indicator for women because our vagal nerve system actually changes with the menstrual cycle, which means that the normal baseline varies. So if it's going up and down, you can't actually take it as an objective indicator of readiness score. So all of these, like the new fields of research, all the metrics behind. And this is us. Thank you so much.